Have you ever felt alone, even in a room full of people? That feeling, being surrounded by others, yet still feeling disconnected. It's something many experience, yet few talk about. Why does it happen? And more importantly, how do we break free from it? What if I told you the biggest obstacle isn't your personality, your past, or even your social skills? It's how you think about connection. In this video, we're diving deep into the unseen forces that shape our relationships. We'll uncover how Stoic wisdom can help you build authentic, lasting friendships without feeling like you have to fake anything. Stick around until the end, because by the time we're done, you'll have real, practical tools to reshape the way you approach connection. Before we dive in, I have a small request. If anything in this message resonates with you, or if you know someone who could benefit from hearing it, hit that like button. Let's spread this wisdom together. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts, because real connection starts with conversation. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell, because this isn't just a video, it's a journey and we're on it together. Lesson 1. Shyness or introversion. Shyness and introversion are often misunderstood. For many, they create an invisible wall that makes building friendships feel impossible. But here's the truth. These traits don't have to be obstacles. In fact, Stoic philosophy offers a completely different way of looking at them, one that turns hesitation into an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. At its core, Stoicism teaches self-acceptance. Not everyone is naturally outgoing, and that's okay. Some of the greatest minds in history, thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, remind us that transformation begins with understanding who we truly are. Shyness isn't a flaw. It's simply a part of the journey. And when we stop resisting it, we can start learning from it. A key Stoic principle is focusing on the present moment, what's within our control right now. Too often, shyness traps us in two places: worrying about what might go wrong or dwelling on past awkward moments. But neither of those exist in the present. By shifting our focus to what's right in front of us, we free ourselves from unnecessary fear and hesitation. The real enemy of confidence isn't shyness. It's the fear of judgment. We worry about how we come across, whether we'll say the wrong thing, or if we'll be accepted. But Stoic thinkers like Seneca remind us of a powerful truth. Everyone is fighting their own unseen battles. When we understand this, something shifts. We stop seeing social interactions as a test we might fail and start seeing them for what they really are: connections between human beings, each with their own struggles, insecurities, and fears. Instead of obsessing over how we appear, we begin to focus on real, meaningful engagement. And this is where true confidence is built, not through forcing ourselves to be someone we're not, but by realizing that we don't have to prove anything at all. One of the most valuable Stoic lessons in this journey is learning to detach from outcomes. Not every interaction will turn into a lasting friendship, and that's perfectly fine. The goal isn't to impress or gain approval. It's to show up as our authentic selves and let connections form naturally. A Stoic individual does not obsess over the outcome, but instead focuses on the process itself. The anxiety of wondering whether we will be accepted or rejected often weighs heavily on our minds, but Stoicism teaches us to let go of that fear. Instead of being consumed by thoughts of how we are perceived, the Stoic approach urges us to be present, authentic, and guided by virtue in our interactions. This simple yet powerful shift in perspective takes away the unnecessary pressure that often comes with shyness. Rather than feeling like every social interaction is a test, we begin to see it as a natural part of life, one that doesn't have to be forced or overanalyzed. When we embrace this mindset, forming connections no longer feels like an impossible challenge. It becomes something organic, something that flows naturally when we act with honesty, self-acceptance, and a genuine curiosity about others. In many ways, Stoicism serves as a compass, leading individuals out of the fog of shyness and into a space of self-discovery, meaningful relationships, and personal growth. As we explore these Stoic teachings, we don't just uncover strategies for overcoming shyness. We discover a powerful philosophy that redefines how we approach social interactions, transforming them from stressful experiences into opportunities for fulfillment and enrichment. Lesson 2. Lack of social opportunities. What happens when it feels like there are no opportunities to connect with others? When your social environment seems dry, empty, and isolating, it can feel as though, no matter how much effort you put in, meaningful friendships are always out of reach. This sense of disconnection is a struggle that many face, and it often leads to frustration, discouragement, and loneliness. But here's the truth. Social opportunities are not always about the environment. They are often about perspective and action. While it may seem like connections aren't available, in reality, they exist all around us. The key lies in knowing where to look, how to engage, and how to cultivate them in a way that aligns with your own personality and values. Stoic philosophy, known for its emphasis on resilience, virtue, and wisdom, provides a framework that allows us to shift our approach. It helps us navigate and even transcend social isolation. Instead of passively waiting for opportunities to appear, we can actively create them, planting the seeds for genuine connections in places we may have never considered before. One of the most powerful and rewarding ways to build social opportunities is through contribution, a practice deeply embedded in Stoic teachings. Community involvement, acts of service, and volunteering not only enrich our lives, but also introduce us to people who share our values. These shared experiences, whether it's cleaning up a local park, supporting a charity event, or mentoring others, lay the foundation for meaningful relationships built on a common purpose. But volunteering is just one avenue. Another approach is to immerse yourself in workshops, professional gatherings, and skill-based events. These aren't just places to improve your knowledge or career. They are also environments where like-minded people naturally gather. By surrounding yourself with individuals who share similar interests, you create opportunities to build connections in a way that feels effortless and mutually beneficial. For those who prefer less structured environments, nature provides an incredible space for organic interaction. Group activities such as hiking, biking, or outdoor fitness classes allow conversations to unfold naturally, without the stiffness or pressure of formal social settings. The beauty of these interactions is that they don't feel forced. They happen in the moment, as people share an experience, rather than simply engaging in small talk. But what about digital spaces? In today's world, online communities offer an expansive realm of connection. Whether it's a forum dedicated to your interests, a social media group, or an interactive discussion platform, these virtual spaces can serve as an initial bridge between people who might otherwise never cross paths. And in many cases, these online friendships evolve into real-life connections. bridging the gap between the digital and physical world. However, as we search for new social opportunities, one of the most valuable Stoic principles we must embrace is gratitude for the connections we already have. Often, when people feel lonely, they overlook the relationships that are already present in their lives, whether it's family, old friends, or even casual acquaintances. Stoicism teaches us to nurture and appreciate these connections, allowing them to grow deeper and more meaningful. This simple mindset shift not only strengthens existing bonds, but also creates an energy of openness that attracts new relationships into our lives. In the end, social opportunities are not something we stumble upon by chance. They are something we create through intentional action and perspective. By embracing these Stoic-inspired strategies, we can build a rich, meaningful network of relationships that not only add depth to our social lives, but also align with our values, interests, and personal growth. Instead of being trapped by the limitations of circumstance, we take control, shaping our social landscape in a way that is fulfilling, empowering, and entirely within our reach. Lesson 3, trust issues. Trust. It's one of the most fundamental building blocks of human relationships, yet one of the most fragile. It takes time to build, but it can be shattered in an instant, and once broken, the cracks can spread, making it difficult, if not impossible, to repair. Many people, scarred by past betrayals or disappointments, find themselves struggling to trust again, carrying the weight of hesitation and doubt into every new interaction. It's understandable. When you've been let down before, it's only natural to be cautious. But when trust issues become a constant barrier, preventing the formation of new connections, it's time to take a step back and reevaluate. How do we navigate trust issues without allowing them to control us? How do we build meaningful relationships without fear becoming the dominant force? These are questions Stoic philosophy helps us answer, not through blind optimism, but through wisdom, self-awareness, and emotional resilience. At the heart of Stoicism lies self-reflection. Before we even think about trusting others, we must first understand ourselves. Why do we hesitate? Where does our fear come from? Are we carrying past wounds into the present? The Stoics believed that trust issues don't just stem from external betrayals. They often come from internal uncertainties, personal insecurities, and the expectations we place on others. By taking the time to examine our own emotions and beliefs, we gain clarity about why we struggle with trust, and more importantly, how we can move forward. But even as we navigate trust, Stoicism reminds us that not everyone is worthy of blind faith. Instead of relying solely on words or appearances, we must look for virtue, honesty, integrity, consistency. A person who embodies these qualities is far more likely to be reliable than someone who constantly makes empty promises. This is where discernment comes in. Instead of trusting blindly or withholding trust entirely, Stoicism encourages a balanced approach. Trust where trust is earned. But never allow past experiences to dictate your future relationships. That being said, people are complex. Their actions are shaped by countless external factors, many of which are beyond our control. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control how others behave, only how we react to them. This means approaching relationships with realistic expectations, understanding that no one is perfect. People will make mistakes, and sometimes trust will be broken. Instead of allowing disappointment to consume us, Stoicism encourages emotional resilience, the ability to remain composed and rational, even when faced with betrayal or letdowns. And when trust issues arise, the Stoic approach is clear: communicate openly and directly, address concerns calmly, express your thoughts without hostility, and allow room for genuine dialogue. Because transparency builds stronger foundations, while unspoken doubts and suppressed fears only create further distance. Ultimately, Stoicism does not teach us to blindly trust or to permanently shield ourselves. It teaches us balance, trust where it is deserved, accept that people are flawed, and focus on what you can control: your mindset, your reactions, and your ability to move forward, no matter what happens. Lesson 4: lack of social skills. For many, social interactions feel like an uphill battle. The fear of awkward silences, being judged, or saying the wrong thing, it can be overwhelming. Some struggle with knowing how to start conversations, while others worry they don't belong in social settings at all. It's a common struggle, but Stoicism provides a way to navigate it with confidence and clarity. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, offered this simple yet powerful insight: accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. But do so with all your heart. Before worrying about what others think, before stressing about whether you're socially good enough, start with self-acceptance. Your worth is not defined by how outgoing you are, nor by the number of friends you have. Every person has value, regardless of how socially skilled they may be. The first step in improving your social confidence is acknowledging your worth without conditions. But Stoicism is not about making instant, drastic changes. It teaches gradual progress. If large social gatherings feel overwhelming, start small. Engage in casual conversations. Talk to one person at a time. Slowly build comfort in different social settings. There's no rush. Progress happens step by step. And instead of fixating on how you appear to others, shift the focus outward. Ask questions, show genuine interest, and listen actively. Because the pressure to perform or impress disappears. When you realize that good social skills aren't about being the loudest or the most charismatic, they're about making others feel heard and understood. But what about rejection, awkward moments, social missteps? Stoicism teaches us to face them with grace. Not every conversation will be perfect. Not every interaction will lead to a friendship, but that's okay. What matters is how you respond, with resilience, with self-assurance, and with the understanding that external events do not define you. Your mindset does. Lesson 5: changing circumstances. Life is constantly shifting, and relationships are no exception. Friendships that once felt unbreakable can fade. People move away. Interests change. Priorities shift. And before we know it, the social circles we once belonged to no longer feel the same. For many, this can be a painful experience. Losing friendships, feeling disconnected, or struggling to adjust to new social environments. It can create a sense of loneliness and uncertainty. But Stoicism offers a powerful perspective, one that allows us to embrace change rather than fear it. At the core of Stoic philosophy is detachment, not in the sense of emotional withdrawal, but in the understanding that nothing is permanent. Just as the seasons change, so too do relationships. People come and go. and that is simply a part of life. Instead of resisting this reality, we must accept it with grace. But accepting change does not mean passively waiting for new friendships to appear. Stoicism teaches action. If life has led you into a new phase, embrace it fully. Seek out opportunities to connect. Engage in new communities. Immerse yourself in experiences that align with your current path, whether it's joining local events, participating in shared interests, or simply making an effort to connect with new people. These actions create new bonds and a sense of belonging, and in this process, reflection becomes key. Transitions in life offer an opportunity to look back and appreciate the friendships that have shaped us without clinging to them. Gratitude, not regret, should be our guide. Instead of mourning lost friendships, appreciate them for what they were, and trust that new, meaningful connections will emerge in their place. Change is inevitable, but if we meet it with resilience, openness, and a willingness to grow, every transition becomes an opportunity, not an ending. Lesson 6, shifting priorities. Life never stands still. It moves, flows, and reshapes itself in ways we often don't anticipate. One of the greatest truths of human existence is that priorities shift. What once felt like the center of your world may one day become secondary, while new responsibilities emerge, demanding your focus and energy. Maybe you once had endless free time for friends, conversations, and social gatherings, but now career ambitions have taken center stage. Maybe family responsibilities have become your primary concern, leaving little room for the same level of social engagement you once enjoyed. Or perhaps personal growth, self-discovery, or other life changes have naturally reshaped the way you allocate your time. These shifts are not signs of failure or neglect. They are simply part of life's natural rhythm, and Stoicism teaches us to embrace them with wisdom rather than resist them with frustration. Understanding the fluid nature of priorities, Stoicism views life not as a rigid structure, but as an evolving journey, where priorities move like waves, sometimes pulling us toward work, family, or solitude, and at other times drawing us back into social engagement. Instead of resisting these waves, Stoicism teaches us to move with them, adjusting with grace and clarity. The key is not to fight against change, but to learn how to integrate relationships into the shifting landscape of life. As priorities evolve, we may not always be able to maintain the same level of social involvement, but this doesn't mean relationships have to suffer. It simply means we must learn to nurture them differently. Instead of trying to spread ourselves thin, Stoicism encourages us to prioritize depth over breadth, focusing on a few meaningful, high-quality connections, rather than attempting to maintain every single acquaintance. Finding meaningful connections in changing seasons. When time becomes scarce, quality over quantity becomes a guiding principle. Stoicism teaches that it is far better to have a handful of deep, meaningful relationships than to exhaust yourself trying to keep up with dozens of surface-level ones. Even if life pulls you in different directions, even if responsibilities demand your attention, a well-tended friendship, one built on trust, respect, and authenticity, does not require constant presence to remain strong. Stoic wisdom reminds us that as life shifts, so should our approach to relationships. It is not about forcing friendships into a mold that no longer fits. It is about allowing them to evolve alongside us, ensuring they align with our current reality. by practicing mindful connection. By ensuring that the time we do spend with loved ones is genuine and present, we ensure that friendships remain resilient, enriching, and capable of weathering the changing seasons of life. Lesson 7. Mental well-being and social connection. Our ability to form and sustain meaningful relationships is deeply connected to our mental well-being. When the mind is burdened with stress, anxiety, or depression, socializing can feel like a task rather than a joy. Even those who deeply crave connection may struggle to reach out, fearing judgment, rejection, or simply lacking the energy to engage. For those who experience these challenges, Stoicism serves as a powerful ally, a philosophy that does not dismiss emotions, but instead provides a framework for resilience, self-mastery, and inner peace. The interconnection between mind and social life. Stoicism teaches that the mind and body are deeply connected, that mental well-being is not separate from our ability to connect with others, but an integral part of it. A healthy mind fosters fulfilling relationships, and in turn, strong relationships contribute to mental well-being. But what happens when our mental state makes it difficult to connect with others? What do we do when anxiety, depression, or self-doubt keeps us trapped in a cycle of isolation? Building emotional resilience. Through Stoicism, one of the core tenets of Stoicism is resilience, the ability to endure hardship, to navigate the ups and downs of life without being consumed by them. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot always control how we feel, we can control how we respond to our emotions. When anxiety or self-doubt whispers, "You're not good enough," Stoicism counters with, "You are more than your fears. Your worth is not defined by a passing thought or a moment of discomfort." When depression says, "You have nothing to offer," Stoicism reminds us, "You have the power to create meaning, even in small moments. Your existence itself carries value." Instead of being at the mercy of emotions, Stoicism encourages us to observe them without being controlled by them, to recognize that we are not our thoughts. We are the observers of our thoughts. And this mindset shift changes everything. The role of mindfulness and present moment awareness. Stoicism encourages mindfulness and self-reflection as tools for mental well-being. Daily Stoic practices include journaling, writing down thoughts, reflecting on emotions, and challenging irrational fears. Meditation, practicing stillness, observing the mind without attachment. Self-inquiry, asking, "Is this thought true? Does it serve me? Is this fear grounded in reality?" These techniques are not just abstract ideas. They are practical methods to regain control over the mind, to break free from the grip of negative thoughts, and to cultivate an inner sense of stability. When applied to social interactions, these Stoic practices help us engage more freely, without overthinking every word, without being weighed down by social anxiety, and without fearing rejection. Tranquility as the ultimate goal. Stoicism champions tranquility, a state of inner peace that comes from self-mastery, emotional balance, the ability to accept what is beyond our control. For those navigating mental health challenges, this pursuit of tranquility becomes a guiding principle. Instead of seeking validation through social approval, external recognition, constant distraction, Stoicism teaches us to cultivate contentment from within, to find peace not in the absence of struggle, but in the ability to face it with strength and clarity. Reconnecting with others, despite mental health struggles. One of the most difficult aspects of struggling with mental health is the tendency to withdraw, to isolate, to convince oneself that reaching out isn't worth the effort. But Stoicism challenges this instinct, reminding us that human connection is not just valuable, it is essential. Even when it feels difficult, even when the mind tells us to retreat, small acts of connection, a message, a conversation, a shared moment, can create powerful ripples that gradually pull us out of isolation. However, this doesn't mean forcing interactions or overwhelming ourselves with social obligations. Stoicism encourages intentionality, choosing interactions that nourish us, that align with our energy levels, that allow us to engage at a pace that feels sustainable, even if it's just one step at a time, one interaction, one effort, one moment of connection. These small steps build upon each other, leading us back toward a life of meaning, purpose, and authentic relationships. Lesson 8: Lifestyle Choices. The hidden barrier to friendship in the ever-accelerating rhythm of modern life. The absence of friendships often has less to do with external factors and more to do with the lifestyle choices we make, whether consciously or not. The way we prioritize our time, the habits we develop, and the way we structure our daily lives directly impact our ability to form and maintain meaningful relationships. Some find themselves caught in the relentless cycle of work, responsibilities, personal projects, while others develop a strong preference for solitude, seeking comfort in their own space. Neither of these paths is inherently wrong, but when left unchecked, they can lead to an unintentional isolation, one that slowly disconnects us from the world around us. Examining priorities, a Stoic perspective on social well-being. Stoicism encourages deep self-reflection. It urges us to ask, are my current commitments truly in line with my values? Am I actively nurturing connections? Or am I allowing life's demands to dictate my relationships? The reality is, many of us spend time on obligations that don't truly serve us. Mindless work commitments, endless distractions, superficial engagements that drain energy rather than enrich it. A Stoic approach asks us to differentiate between necessary responsibilities, unnecessary burdens that limit our capacity for connection. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition or retreating from responsibilities. Instead, it means being intentional about balance, recognizing that work, goals, and personal space are important, but so are human relationships. The art of carving out time for connection life won't slow down for us. Deadlines will continue to pile up, obligations won't disappear, and schedules will always feel full. However, what we do have control over is how we allocate our time. Stoicism teaches that a well-lived life includes checkmark responsibility, relationships, by deliberately setting aside time for meaningful social engagement, whether through conversations, shared experiences, or simple check-ins. We ensure that our connections remain strong, even in the face of a demanding lifestyle. Choosing quality over quantity in friendships. In a world where time is limited, Stoicism teaches us that not all relationships deserve an equal investment of time and energy. It's not about forcing ourselves into endless social interactions. It's about choosing quality over quantity. This means investing in relationships that align with your values, prioritizing people who uplift, challenge, and encourage growth, avoiding the trap of superficial connections that drain rather than fulfill. Friendships should not be maintained out of obligation, but rather nurtured because they add meaning and value to our lives. A Stoic approach to socializing is not about being constantly surrounded by people. It's about ensuring that the time we do spend with others is intentional and meaningful. Time management as a social virtue. Time is our most valuable and irreplaceable resource. How we manage it determines the depth and richness of our relationships. Stoicism encourages structured discipline in time management, ensuring that we create space not only for productivity, but also for social connection. It asks us to align our daily actions with the life we actually want to live. A life that balances ambition with fulfillment, solitude with connection, work with relationships. By approaching time management through a Stoic lens, we create a lifestyle that allows for check personal growth, check meaningful interactions, making friendships a natural and sustainable part of our journey, rather than something we neglect until loneliness sets in. Lesson 9. Differences in interests, the hidden opportunity for connection. One of the most common reasons people feel disconnected is the belief that they have little in common with others. They assume that friendships must be built around shared hobbies, identical viewpoints, or similar lifestyles, but Stoicism presents a different way of looking at relationships, one that transcends surface-level interests and focuses on something deeper, the beauty of diverse interests in human connection. Rather than seeing differences as obstacles, Stoicism encourages us to view them as opportunities for expansion. Every person we meet has a unique perspective, a different set of experiences, and insights we may never have encountered otherwise. Instead of assuming that differences separate us, we can approach them with curiosity, seeking to learn rather than to judge. A Stoic mindset embraces the idea that connection is not about finding a clone of ourselves, but about discovering the shared humanity beneath the differences. Acceptance. The Stoic approach to differences. One of the most powerful Stoic principles is acceptance of what lies beyond our control. Not everyone we meet will share our interests, passions, or viewpoints. Instead of wishing things were different, Stoicism teaches us to find peace in reality and focus on what truly matters. Friendship isn't just about common activities, it's about shared values. Honesty, integrity, and kindness are far more unifying than hobbies. Mutual respect. Even in differences, a foundation of respect fosters connection, empathy, and understanding, seeking to appreciate someone's perspective rather than trying to change it. When we shift our focus from what makes us different to what unites us, we create friendships that are far more resilient and meaningful than those based purely on shared interests. Adaptability, embracing the unfamiliar. A Stoic life is one of constant growth. It does not resist the unknown, it welcomes it. By stepping outside of our comfort zones, exploring new activities, engaging in unfamiliar conversations, expanding our social circles, we not only increase our chances of meaningful friendships, but we also evolve as individuals. Instead of dismissing someone because their interests don't match ours, we can approach them with curiosity, asking questions, seeking to understand, even stepping into their world for a moment. This adaptability allows us to form connections that go beyond the surface, rooted in something deeper than just shared hobbies, a mutual appreciation for the human experience. The Stoic friendship triad, goodwill, shared values, and mutual understanding, A fundamental principle in Stoic relationships is the friendship triad, which suggests that goodwill, approaching others with genuine kindness and a desire to connect. Shared values, recognizing that character and integrity are more important than common hobbies. Mutual understanding, seeking to listen and learn rather than focusing on differences. When these three elements are present, friendships become more than just circumstantial. They become enduring bonds that stand the test of time. Curiosity as a tool for connection. One of the simplest but most effective Stoic strategies for overcoming social disconnection is to be genuinely curious. Instead of focusing on what separates us, we can ask, what can I learn from this person? What unique experiences or perspectives do they bring? How can I find common ground, even if we don't share the same interests? By leading with genuine curiosity, we create bridges instead of barriers, opening the door to relationships that enrich our lives in unexpected ways. Final thoughts, building a tapestry of meaningful friendships at its core. Stoicism teaches that friendships are not built on external similarities, but on shared virtues, mutual respect, and the willingness to understand one another. By embracing acceptance, recognizing that differences are natural and valuable. Adaptability, being open to new experiences and perspectives. Curiosity, genuinely engaging with the passions of others. Virtue, focusing on character over surface-level similarities. We cultivate friendships that are not just fleeting, but deeply meaningful. Relationships that transcend differences and enrich our journey through life. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a cycle we can break. If today's message helped you see things differently, hit like. Because someone out there might need this more than you know. But let's not just keep this as an idea. Let's take action. Drop a comment below. What resonated with you? What's your biggest challenge in building connections? Let's start a real conversation. And if you haven't already, subscribe and become part of this movement. We're not just talking about connection, we're creating it, one conversation at a time. See you in the next video.